threat of an Ebola epidemic in the Democratic Republic of Congo forces the World Health Organization to raise its threat assessment.
L'ex-Zaïrois garde d'hier des images parfois belles, parfois dures.
And in our Music Maker segment, spoken word poet, singer, and rapper Yakima. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCorry. This is Africa 54. The threat of an Ebola epidemic in the Democratic Republic of Congo has caused the World Health Organization on Friday to raise its assessment of the public health risk of the current outbreak from high to very high at the national level. The reassessment came after the first confirmed case in Mbandaka, a city of around 1.5 million, on the banks of the Congo River in the northwest of the country and close to the border with Cameroon. The case raised concerns that the virus, previously found in more rural areas, would be tougher to contain and could reach downstream to Kinshasa, which has a population of 10 million. Congo's Ministry of Health has provided updated Ebola figures to the WHO, 45 cases overall since April 4th, including 14 confirmed, 10 suspected, and 21 probable. 25 people have died, but no new infections among health workers. Speaking from Switzerland on Friday, a WHO spokesman assessed the situation.
Now that we have this confirmed case in Mbandaka, WHO reassessed the risk of spread and said that the risk of spread at national level is very high, and it's high at a regional level, and international level remains low. This is because Mbandaka is a city that is connected to Kinshasa by the air traffic, and it's also on the fleuve, on the river.
Well, the WHO is sending over 7,500 doses of an experimental vaccine to try to stop the outbreak. 4,300 doses have already arrived in Kinshasa. It will be used to protect health workers and rings of contact around each case. Egyptian authorities arrested a prominent rights activist on Friday on suspicion of belonging to a terrorist organization. According to security sources, Haytham Mohammadine, a leftist lawyer who defends labor rights and belongs to the Revolutionary Socialist Movement, was arrested at his Giza home. He is one of the latest of activists arrested in recent weeks. He is likely to be questioned by the state security prosecution on potential charges of joining a terrorist organization and calling for the overthrow of the regime by publishing false news. Now, as votes from the Burundian referendum that could let President Pierre Nkurunziza hold power until 2034 are being tallied, Human Rights Watch revealed in a report on Friday that at least 15 people were killed and 6 were raped during the campaigning. Also in the statement, the rights group accused security forces and their allies of creating a climate of fear and intimidation ahead of Thursday's vote. Political observers say the referendum results are expected to affirm the constitutional change after voters were asked to accept or reject a proposal that would allow the president to stand for 2 7-year terms. Nkurunziza was due to step down in 2015, but earlier that year, he announced he was seeking a 3rd term, triggering deadly clashes with his opponents and a political and security crisis that has gripped the impoverished country of 10 million people. For the latest on the Burundi votes, our reporter Mohamed Yusuf joins us by phone from Bujumbura. Good evening, Mohamed.
Good evening, Vincent.
So now, do we have any preliminary reports, rather results? Do we know anything about the tallying?
Yeah, so far with 80% of the votes results coming in, so far it clearly shows that about at least 70% of Burundian voters have accepted the proposed changes to the constitution, with 19% rejecting it. But that's just the preliminary result. But tomorrow is the final day that the Electoral Commission will announce the final result. By the look of things, it clearly shows that yes, have carried the day. Something that maybe many Burundians are not surprised.
Now, we mentioned in our report earlier that, in fact, there were people were killed in the run-up to the referendum, some women raped. How is that being reported locally, and what's the mood in the country?
You may well aware that most of journalists have left the country with the opposition politicians in 2015. For the few journalists who are here, very few of them, they're operating in a very difficult environment, and they've been really reluctant to report some of these issues, in particular the human rights abuses that have been going on in the last 3 years. So most probably you expect journalists not reporting on these issues because they also fear for their lives, and most of these journalists here think that maybe life may be difficult for them if they leave the country. So all they do now is just to report the normal things, but not the abuses that is there.
Well, Mohammed, we really appreciate that you have that courage to be there and to be reporting for us. Thank you very much. Mohammed Yusuf reporting from Bujumbura in Burundi. Now, the 4th edition of Little Malaika International Competition will take place on Saturday, May the 26th. In Rockville, Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C. The program aims to empower boys and girls aged 7 to 12 to develop leadership qualities, encourage community service and intercultural exchange for children in the United States. To tell us more about it, I'm joined by Vienna Bagaya, the spokesperson for Little Malaika International. Vienna, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Vincent.
Very exciting, very exciting. Now,
yes.
We did mention there that this festival is meant to empower the next generation of global leaders. And here we're talking about kids in the diaspora. Tell us a little bit, why is it important for these children who are based here?
Of course. Children in the diaspora are naturally exposed to global influences. It could be music, language, foods, sounds. So who better than them to turn this cultural knowledge, this vast cultural literacy, into an advantage by developing their leadership skills. So Little Malaika, an organization like Little Malaika is there to empower children in the diaspora to compete and succeed on a world stage and see themselves as people who can have global impact.
And of course, they get to get an award. They become princes and...
Oh, yes. I'll tell you all about it later. But yes, I'm excited about it because we're going to have a lot of kids on Saturday, as you said, in Rockville at the F. Scott Fitzgerald Theater. We're going to celebrate them, award them, and it's going to be great.
That's
I can't
great.
wait.
And this component of encouraging community service and, promoting intercultural exchange among children specifically. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, more than ever, we need to start teaching our kids to see themselves as stakeholders in their communities. And this is so because, especially now, the dominant narrative about immigrants is so negative. These kids are walking around with messages in their heads that vilify their parents, vilify people in the community they love and look up to. So it's important that we challenge them to critically think beyond what is given, critically think of themselves as people who are proud of their culture. And by us teaching them to love and take care of themselves, we're also giving them the capabilities to love and take care of each other in the community. So it's important to start now.
So how are the principals taught to these kids, 7 years old to about 12, really at the Little Malaika, how practical are these lessons to their learning and social development? Okay,
so Little Malaika Foundation caters to boys and girls between the ages of 7 and 12 because it's such a pivotal and impressionable age group. They're just now growing into themselves and getting a strong sense of their agency. So in teaching them lessons or principles such as leadership, creativity, public speaking, teamwork, problem solving, we're just giving them a sense of self-efficacy so that they can approach challenges they'll encounter, whether it's in social settings or in academic settings. So on their way to becoming productive members of society and the community, these are important lessons.
And what should parents expect when they enroll their kids in this program?
Well, two things. One, us immigrant parents, we may not have the time or even the capacity to really relate to our kids. So we'll get the opportunity to be part of their learning outside of the school setting and outside of the home and get closer to them and understand what they see and how they navigate their world. And the second thing is, as immigrant parents, how we raise our kids is largely informed by how we were raised. However, we have to factor in a significant factor, which is a changed setting. We're not raising our kids where we were raised. So we have to kind of be creative with the tools that we give them. And Little Malaika is one of those tools. We have to see Little Malaika as a supplement option to continue enriching their lives.
Very quickly, tell us about the philanthropic part of it and also where people can find more information about this.
So this is the part that's going to be exciting. On Saturday, May 26th, we're going to be at the F. Scott Fitzgerald Theater in Rockville, Maryland at 2 p.m. And we'll be able to crown Prince or Princess Malaika and also honor the founder of the beneficiary this year. And the whole philanthropic purpose is to raise awareness for raise awareness for children who have autism and also live in underprivileged communities. This year's beneficiary will be the Nehemiah Autism Center in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, whose mission is to provide care, instruction, and support for children living with autism and other related disabilities. If you would like to support, if you'd like to show up, please go online, littlemalaika.net, and support us, buy tickets, donate, help however you want to.
Smart pitch there. Thank you very much, and we really appreciate you coming in and telling us about Little Malaika International.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, appreciate that. That's Vienna Mbagaya, who is the spokesperson for Little Malaika International. Well, the big day is nearly here for Britain's Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, as the couple are set to get married Saturday in the town of Windsor, just outside London. Markle confirmed this week that her father will not attend the ceremony due to ill health. So Prince Charles has stepped in to escort the bride down the aisle. Henry Ridgwell has more on the royal extravaganza.
The stunning 14th century St George's Chapel on the grounds of Windsor Castle, where Prince Harry was baptised and now the venue for his marriage to Meghan Markle. Some 600 guests have been invited, mainly those who have a direct relationship with the couple. In addition, more than 2,500 members of the public have been invited into the castle grounds, the prime spot to watch the guests come and go.
By allowing public to come into the lower ward of Windsor Castle, to me that was surprising, and it was very touching, because for as much as they don't like the media intrusion, the royals, they've invited media in, they've invited the public in, and they're wanting to share their special day.
4 members of the Mumbai-based charity Meena Mahila Foundation have been invited. The NGO provides sanitary products in the slums of the Indian city and was visited by Meghan Markle last year. It's one of 7 charities to which the couple have asked guests to donate to instead of giving wedding presents.
We're representing not just MENA, but also the women across urban slums in the city and India as well. I think there's a lot on the plate and a lot of pressure.
More than 100,000 people are expected to line the streets of Windsor. Many have arrived early to bag the best spots.
Every little girl has read fairy tales from her childhood on by her mother, and she always dreams of becoming a princess and living in a castle. And I mean, this is it. This is a real-life fairy tale.
In a break with tradition, the bride-to-be will not have a maid of honour. Harry's nephew, Prince George, will be a page boy, and niece, Princess Charlotte, a bridesmaid, alongside several members of Meghan Markle's family. In the kitchens of Windsor Castle, 30 chefs will prepare a banquet for the 600 reception guests.
The couple were involved they've tasted everything, they've been involved in every detail.
That could mean some American surprises among the British fare.
Are we going to see hot dogs?
Thousands of police officers are mounting one of the biggest security operations in recent years, paid for by the public, a bill some opposed to the monarchy resent. Supporters argue the wedding is likely to attract big spending by visitors and those watching in bars and big screens across the country. Millions are expected to tune in around the globe, with the promise of British pomp mixed with plenty of Hollywood glamour. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Oh, coming up, new technology helps amputees do everyday tasks more easily. Stay with us.
This is Living Better.
Here you go, Amanda. Last 5. Come on.
Mandy Weaver runs a fitness program in Portland, Oregon, and encourages women to ignore weight that they may gain from working out.
When somebody steps on the scale and they're training and their weight has increased, it should be a mindset of, great, I've gained more muscle.
One of those women is Sarah Duncan, who has a new outlook on her workouts.
Well, there's definitely a different lens that I look at my body through, and it's through strength and muscular rather than skinny and thin.
Sarah also now works out this way with her daughter Riley right beside her.
I am so happy to be surrounded by women who embrace their body and recognize we all look different. We all are beautiful in our own ways and our own bodies, shapes and sizes.
A focus away from weight, making strides in U.S. fitness culture. I'm Martin Seacrest for VOA's Living Better.
Well, the New York Africa Film Festival opened this week. For 25 years, the festival has honored African cinema and given a voice to artists, activists, and filmmakers from Africa and the diaspora. Among the films featured this year is director Apolline Traoré's Borders, a road movie that explores the friendship of four women traveling by bus through lush West African landscapes and the dangers they encounter on their journey. To tell us more about the festival, Apolline Traoré and VOA reporter Azuma Kompare join me now live from our New York studios. Good evening, both of you.
Good evening.
Hi. Now, I want to start first with Apolline, if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yes, it is a very exciting film, this, The Borders. But tell me first, what prompted you, what inspired you to write and direct this story that actually takes actors from different countries and takes them on a journey?
Well, the first inspiration for me was actually to do a first road movie that we haven't actually seen in West Africa. And also we talk about our community saying that we can travel freely from one country to the other. But when we get to the border, it's something else. It's very, very problematic. And also when you go to those borders, when you go to the bus, most of the time you will see women that are on the buses traveling. And on the road is so dangerous because you can encounter so many things. But those women keep doing it because of the freedom, because they want to support their family. And I think it was so inspiring to me to show the stories.
And you actually take them on a real journey in that you filmed on location. How challenging was this, and why did you decide to do that?
Well, a lot of the time people tend to say that Africa is one country, and they do not make the difference between all the different cultures that we have. So my main thing was first to show, because we started from Senegal all the way to Nigeria. For me, we crossed actually 6 countries, and I wanted to see the difference of the location, the landscape, the clothes, and the culture. So that was something important to me to show in the film.
In terms of the harassment, the sexual harassment part of the women, was this something that perhaps was inspired by the talk of Me Too movement, or was it way before when you came up with the idea?
Yeah, actually it came before. I talked about it before the Me Too movement, and actually when the Me Too movement came, it was right on the spot, because I already talked about it in my film and how the women are exposed in their work and how they're exposed on the road, and actually no one is doing anything about it because they get raped on those roads and the authority know about it, but no one is doing it. So the film talked about it before, and then after that the movement came, and so it was right on.
Now, if I may turn to Azuma, reporter there. Azuma, you've kind of have seen whatever is being displayed there. What are you getting the sense of how many films are coming out of Africa that perhaps people don't know about?
So thank you, Vincent. It's about 60 movies total that are going to be shown during this month-hold showing. Actually, the festival itself runs from May 16th to 22nd. But the special hat tip to African filmmakers, key figures of African filmmakers actually started with this documentary on Abdurrahman Sissoko, this famous director who is Oscar-nominated movie Timbuktu, was seen everywhere. So the documentary is made by Valérie Woussouf. And there's also another very interesting documentary made by Jibril Diop Mambeti, who actually documented the making of a movie by late Idrissa Ouedraogo, and the movie is going to be talking about it as well. So it's among a couple of those elements that personally I'm very excited to be able to watch, because
quickly,
those movies are not seen everywhere.
Yes, they're not seen everywhere, but what is the motive? What do they do? Are they discussing quality, or are they just discussing the variety of movies that are coming out of Africa?
So it's first an opportunity for the diaspora to be able to see movies from the motherland, and also allow people in the world, and especially in America here, to see that. It's been 25 years now that the festival is running. So the formula has always been on emphasizing on the quality of the story, and not that much on the production. Like the founder of the festival, Mehen Bonetti, said, she really wants people to connect with a honest story first, and then the production and everything else is gonna follow.
Okay, I want to end with Apolline. If I may ask you one more question, as a movie director, what do you see as the future of African film? Are we about to make a leap and become the next Hollywood?
Well, and I think, first of all, those festivals that we go to, it's a window. It's an opportunity for us to show what Africa is actually, a story made by African to the world. So showing, for me, to have the opportunity to be here in New York to show my film, I think it's so great, and it's giving me the opportunity to show America, to show the world, my country, my culture. So I think that we are in the rise of African film, and really, hopefully, in the next 5-10 years, we'll be taking Hollywood.
we hope so, and really commend you for doing such a wonderful job of that movie. I want to thank both of you for joining us today from New York. That's Apolline Traoré, who's a film director, and Azuma Compaoré, a VOA reporter, coming to us live from New York. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. DRC spoken word poet, singer, and rapper Yekima. We'll be right back.
The risk of spread at national level is very high.
تواجه الموت. ده اللي بيخلي المسألة خطيرة جدا، وبيخلينا المفروض يكون عندنا التزام أكبر.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. New prosthetic arm technology is helping amputees to do everyday tasks more easily. Its makers say the Luke arm prosthesis, named after the Star Wars character Luke Skywalker, is the first fully integrated prosthesis with a powered shoulder, powered elbow, and a powered hand that work together in one unit. Advanced software reads signals from existing muscles in the limb. It was the Department of Defense, and initially called on DECA Research in New Hampshire to develop a new age replacement for outdated prosthetics for veterans. Now, Nextstep Bionics and Prosthetics then created the custom connection of electronics and software to route signals properly. The technology can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the hope is that eventually it will be available to anyone who needs it. And finally, Mobileye Intel Corporation's Israeli-based autonomous driving unit has signed a contract to supply 8 million cars at a European automaker with its self-driving technologies. The deal is a sign of how car makers and suppliers are accelerating the introduction of features that automate certain driving tasks, such as highway driving and emergency braking, to generate revenue, while technologies to enable fully automated driving in all conditions is still years away from mass market development. And that's what's trending today. We leave you now with Yakima, a spoken word poet, a singer, and a rapper from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Here is his song, Les Années Zaïre. From all of us in Washington, have a great weekend.
Petite page d'histoire pour les plus jeunes nés ici ou nés ailleurs. Petite piqûre de rappel pour les nostalgiques, les nés Z. Du Congo belge à la RDC d'aujourd'hui, les noms avaient changé avec chaque régime politique. Zaïre est l'un d'eux, ainsi rebaptisé sous la Deuxième République par un chef d'État ayant arraché le pouvoir par coup d'État. Il s'appelait Mobutu et pendant quelques 32 ans, il a régné en roi. Coiffé d'une toque en peau de léopard, il corrigeait sa vue par des vers. Costaud dans un costard à bas cost, toute une doctrine vestimentaire. Une gestualité charismatique d'un homme qu'à la fois on adule et on craint. Une canne décorativement sculptée tel le prolongement de ses mains. Avec sa voix imposante, chaque mot il disait avec une gravité appuyée. Le maréchal l'aigle de Kawele, d'un tas de surnoms il aimait s'affubler. Et quand son effigie sortait d'un nuage le soir avant le journal télé, c'était le dieu du Zaïre dans sa quête d'éternité. C'est vrai que les années Zaïre, c'est aussi celle de Jalelo. Danse, chant, discours, Kelelo, Moulolo. On dirait juste le corbeau et le renard de La Fontaine, mais réglé sur tempo. Chanson laudative, tout un culte au roi, ne le gavant que de flatteries. D'ailleurs, cela est toujours d'actualité. Et c'est bien loin d'être par ici fini. Entre zèle perdu et remords de la dictature, l'ex-zaïrois garde d'hier des images parfois belles, parfois dures. Entre ceux-ci qui sont dans l'idée que le pays se portait mieux hier, alors Zaïre, et ceux-là qui sont dessaisis du désir amnésique d'oublier que parfois Zaïre est né avec martyr. Mais les années Zaïre ne sont pas toutes des années Zaïre. Et revisiter ces années-là, c'est aussi remuer bien de vieux souvenirs. Des souvenirs de Zaïre monnaie, un Zaïre pour 100 Makuta, un Lukuta pour 100 Singui, de Mfer parti État ou de Mwanamboka Buka Lokuta. Le souvenir de quand on lisait Kwaku, Kalao, Zamenga pour leur français Zénet. On l'a revu Junior à 10 Zaïre, vendu à la sauvette. Tu n'as pas vécu au Zaïre si tu n'as pas connu Maître Bébin. Un film d'art martial zaïrois, l'un des premiers films d'action africains. Bako, Mimi Orange, Very Good, Mirinda. Boisson sucrée, le salut au drapeau à l'école, les citoyens maîtres, le travail manuel, les gratadas à la récré. Le Mwambé à la foire, les gardes civils, les phases, les hiboux, les mouvanciers. Il y avait le théâtre de chez nous, les sketchs de Mangogo.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Lots of items are made from gold, like jewelry, coins, and medals.
Golden opportunity.
This sounds like a strange thing to be made of gold.
Jonathan, are you as excited as I am about the holiday next week?
I might be more excited. The holiday is a golden opportunity for me to catch up on